Google and Apple have promised our data would be encrypted, but you make it sound like the government's going to get there anyway. If they want that data, they will get their hands on it.
That's right, Emily. Yeah, there are a lot of misconceptions about what Apple and Google's new encryption features can and can't protect on your phone. Now, I should say at the outset, these new encryption features that Google and Apple are adding are an important step forward for user security. It's really important for users to be aware of security, to be aware of encryption, and these are important steps toward that. However, law enforcement still has many, many ways to get access to data that passes through your phone. And what Apple and Google's measures will do is they will encrypt data that's stored on your device. And now the issue is, if a piece of data ever leaves your device or is sent into your device, that is still obtainable via warrants. So the main losers in this are going to be local law enforcement, who draw heavily on handing over phones to these companies and saying, open these things up and show me the pictures on them. For intelligence agencies like the NSA, it's not going to be that much of a difference because they collect records in bulk.
Jordan, specifically, it seems like Apple made some plans with their new phone to make it harder for the government to have them. Have we ever seen anything like this where a consumer-facing product has been purposely architected to keep the government out?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, we've seen, with earlier encryption technologies, there have been attempts to secure data, from the government, but we haven't seen anything like this. There's clearly a new paradigm at work here with the Snowden revelations, and Apple is taking, a really powerful step in saying we're going to encrypt all of the data on your devices. There's also another way to look at it, though. Responding to local law enforcement requests is a very time-consuming, bureaucratic process. And by making this move, Apple and Google are basically saying, don't bother us with a lot of these because there's nothing we can offer you. And, in that sense, it can almost be viewed as a cost-saving measure.
U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder, Jordan, has said it is fully possible to permit law enforcement to do its job while still adequately protecting personal privacy. FBI Director James Comey, meantime, saying, what concerns me about this is companies marketing something expressly to allow people to place themselves beyond the law. Are these technologies, is what these companies are doing, is it actually upping our security, or is it more of a gimmick?
Well, that's a good question. It's a good question as well. I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, what this will really affect, as we've been reporting it, what we narrowed in on was what this will really affect are photos. And for local law enforcement, photos are central to their investigations. They'll see people, pictures of people doing bad things, and they can form the basis of their prosecutions based on that. So in that sense, it does make it harder for local police to covertly look at phones. If you serve a warrant on somebody and demand their passcode, they're going to delete a bunch of data, and even if they give you the code, it's useless. So in that sense, it is making it harder for law enforcement to do their jobs. However, many, many of the other data points that law enforcement and intelligence agencies would be interested in are still very easily accessible in the same way that they were before, which is you go to AT&T or Verizon and you demand my call logs or my text message history or contact lists that I've updated to the cloud. Those things are all still very easily available, and it's a speed bump, as one privacy advocate put it, for most law enforcement requests.
I think it's interesting context, too, Jordan, that of all the companies out there, Apple was the one that sort of fought off the PRISM demands of the NSA the longest.
Yeah, Apple and Yahoo came out that they were facing big fines if they resisted. And the companies were in a bad spot. They couldn't talk about these requests. They really couldn't fight them. For companies, especially for companies whose business it is to profile users like Google, like Facebook, that data has a lot more value to them and their reputations than it does even for the government in some cases. Apple's Tim Cook has made a point of saying, look, we sell products, we don't sell data. We don't care what you do with your data in most cases. And Apple has scored pretty high on a lot of security measures, so it's in line with other things that they've done. And Emily, to your earlier question about whether it's a gimmick, it's part marketing and it's also part security, and it's a little bit of both. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but that is what it is.